Welcome to Digital Dominators, the podcast that helps small business owners grow their confidence, sharpen their digital skills, and actually enjoy showing up online. I'm Sooz Young, your host, tech coach, and digital cheerleader, and every week I chat with brilliant experts to bring you practical tips, smart strategies, and the tools and tech to make business easier. From social media marketing to websites, content to confidence, AI to automation, we're breaking it down into simple steps you can actually use. If you're ready to make things simpler and more successful in your digital world, you're in the right place. Let's get stuck in. Welcome back to Digital Dominators, the podcast where we break down the digital skills, systems, and storytelling strategies that help you grow a business that stands out and connects with the people who matter. In today's episode, we're talking about something powerful, immediate, and often overlooked: your visual first impression. Before you say a word, before someone reads your bio, before they even scroll through your website, your brand is speaking. It's not saying what you want it to say. You could be losing potential clients without even realizing it. Our guest today is Amanda Hutchinson, founder of AKP Branding Stories, a specialist brand photographer and storytelling strategist who helps business owners elevate their visual presence with purpose and personality. Amanda works with purpose-driven entrepreneurs to craft visual stories that reflect not just what they do, but who they are, capturing confidence, clarity, and consistency that builds trust from the very first glance. She believes your brand photos should feel like you on your best day, and that great branding starts with knowing your story and showing up as the face of it. In this conversation, we're diving into how to create visual content that actually connects, why your personal brand starts before you speak, and how to build confidence in front of the camera, even if the thought makes you cringe. Let's get into it. Hi, Amanda.
Hi.
Thanks for joining me today. I've been super excited about this. I know that we've been waiting a while to come on and chat as well, but I think it's at a perfect time because the visibility for business owners has changed dramatically or the way to be visible has changed dramatically over the last few years. And branding is a huge part of that, personal branding. And what you do from the work, and that's what first got me introduced into you, is seeing the imagery that you create for people. Before I even knew who you were, I knew what the photos were, because the storytelling that you create, I was like, that's beautiful. It's a different type that I'd seen before, I think, across in my feed. So that's why I was really excited to be able to chat to you, because you've got this ability to be able to tell stories really well. And it's not even you sharing the content, it's other people sharing the content through the imagery. So it's a great, or the business leaders sharing that content. So let's talk a little bit about how you got to creating great storytelling, branding and visuals for businesses. How did you get to where you are today, Amanda?
It's a bit of a roundabout story. So I actually started in crisis management and counterterrorism.
Wow, that's very different.
So I worked for local authority as an on-call emergency responder, and then I went into the corporate world doing crisis management and counterterrorism consulting. So working with global organizations to put plans in place for if something goes wrong. And that is just adrenaline-filled industry, also quite doom and gloom, because when you're not responding to something, everything was like, well, what's the worst that could happen? Let's think of the scenarios, let's put the plans in place. And so photography was my creative outlet for something that was quite heavy at times. And then we got married, and I kind of felt like I could have done a better job if I'd have strapped the camera to my chest and photographed the wedding that way. We had photos where I looked the same size as my brand new husband, and he is just under 6 foot and was at that point twice the weight I am. And I just thought, oh God, okay, so let's give this photography thing a go. So starting in weddings, it's all about storytelling. And I very, very quickly realized that actually I loved capturing the suppliers on the day. So the florist putting the final touches to a bouquet, or the cake maker assembling the cake. And this was 12 years ago. So Instagram wasn't really a thing for business, which makes me feel very old.
Yeah, me too.
At best, we had Facebook for business, but
Flickr. We had Flickr then.
Yeah. Let's not you know,
Doesn't
give
go
away
there.
too much how old we are. But suppliers weren't getting this type of content. And yet weddings are such a personal transaction that people need to see who they're engaging with for their weddings. So I started working with wedding suppliers. I actually realized that I quite preferred the businesses to the couples. And it just organically grew from that. I mean, I'd have quit weddings sooner, but you know, we had this little thing called a pandemic that sort of shifted all of my weddings, you know, 18 months later. But what I love about the sort of business side of photography is everybody's different. Like you could have 20 coaches and they've all got different reasons and different methods and different stories. And that's the creativity that I wasn't getting in weddings, because
Mm.
lots of weddings follow trends. And so there really is only so many peonies you can see in a year. and and also it then it worked more with the fact that I had all of this corporate business knowledge, and you know, working with CEOs of FTSE 100 companies to show up in front of the camera during a crisis. I was like, well, hang on, there's quite a lot of synergies with crisis management and people being in front of a camera, because it's all about the fear of the unknown. And it breaks my heart when I see these amazing business owners hiding because they don't feel confident in front of the camera. So that's kind of what drove me to really go down the business branding photography route, because I could see how amazing all these people were. But I was like, but you're not showing up. You're putting these terrible selfies up, or you're just not going live or showing who you are at all. And people buy from people.
Yeah, I love that journey, that there's such opposite ends of the scale of like
They are,
crisis management
but
to like
actually,
beautiful storytelling.
but there's actually there are a lot of like crossovers, which, you know, and some of it is that like not a lot like wobbles me. So even if something happens to not be going quite right on a shoot, you'll never know, because my first week out of my job out of uni was Baby P, and I left that job like a few months after Tottenham riots. I'm used to dealing with like quite big crises. So if I turn up to a venue and it's not quite what I thought it was going to be, or we get asked to move on in outside of a location in London, I'm like, okay, well, I already have other things in my head that we can do. Like, okay, you know, maybe sometimes we might have to move if the weather's horrendous, but usually there's a workaround. So I just kind of go with it. And I think that helps people in front of the camera if they've got someone who is really calm, even if it's just calm on the outside and I'm going, like, what's going on? Ah! Like, you'll never see that.
There's that expression of the swan, isn't it?
Yeah.
With the feet or the duck above water. And that's something that I learned when I was at Apple, and it was a skill that I had to enhance, is that dealing with ambiguity, dealing with that change, dealing with the stress on nobody
Yeah.
sees what that looks like on the outside. And I think that's a skill that, and again, these human skills that are super important. And it seems like you've got a lot of these skills that you're bringing from your previous experiences into working with these big business leaders, these big business owners, to be able to help them change their mindset and change their approach to how they're using themselves as their business advocate in that sort of way.
Yeah, because we've had it drummed into us. I think, you know, particularly our generation, we grew up with celebrities being slammed in, you know, magazines, cellulite being circled, people being asked what their weight were. It's terrifying that I think we are moving back into that a bit. Like, some of the celebrities we've got at the moment are really being hounded for how they look, and it's none of anybody's business, but it really then impacts how we want to show up, because we have that fear of judgment. I don't think it's a fear of the camera. I think it's a fear of, am I going to be judged for how I look? And as a species, we are the only species in the entire world of a whole animal kingdom that knows what our face looks like.
I shouldn't laugh, but it's true. It's,
and it's, you look at it and it's like, you know, when like a cat sees their reflection in a mirror and they freak out, because I don't think we're meant to really see what we look like so much.
When was that first person that looked in the water and saw that thing back at them?
I mean, oh my God.
Saw that reflection?
But even that water reflection was like murky. Now we see ourselves in high definition. And I realized, like, coming onto this, I'm so used to being on Zoom and that lovely Zoom filter. I was like, that's a little more, there's a bit more definition on those wrinkles on my forehead. And like, yeah, and I have to catch myself as well and being like, does anybody, now everyone will be looking at it because I've mentioned it, but like, does anyone really care? Do they care really what I look like, or do they care that I can pick up a camera, make them feel comfortable and give them the content? And it's the same with whatever your business is. Your audience don't care whether or not you've got, a blue top on or a red top on. They want to hear what you are saying. So there's an element of kind of have to put that ego to one side, because that is what's driving it. It's your ego trying to keep you safe, and go, if I hide and I don't show anybody who I am, I can't help the people I want to help. Because most of us go into business to help people in some shape or form. Yes, the money is amazing. That is a beautiful byproduct. But most of us go into business because we want to show some sort of change or impact, no matter how small or big that is. I'm not saying we want to change, everyone wants to change the world, but you want to be able to support somebody in something and help them have a better life or business or experience. But they can't do that if they don't know who you are. So one of the things I say to my clients a lot is, it's not about you. Put you aside, think about your ideal client. Think about how they want you to show up, because then you'll resonate with them as well anyway.
So, what are the main challenges that you see when it comes to personal branding across, let's use social media, but there's also your website, there's also anywhere else that you've got this online presence? It could be your podcast, it could be any YouTube, it could be anything that shows a visual representation of you or your business in any sort of way. Let's talk about those challenges that you genuinely see, and then we'll talk about how to fix them.
Yeah, so I think the biggest challenge is actually people just doing it and showing up. That, before you even get into what the aesthetic looks like, the challenge is getting out of your own way and doing the thing. And I always say when I turn up to events, people are like, oh God, you've got your camera. I think I am as loved as the tax man. Sometimes people are like, oh God, I've got my photo taken. I'm like, hi, like I'm a person behind this. And then I think the big challenge people have is, what do I do? How do I, like, how do I show up? What do I need? What do I do with my hands? What do I do with my face? What do I wear? There's a lot of unknown. And I think what's really nice about social media at the moment is there's this really beautiful mix of, you need the professional content, but actually you can just show up on your stories, which is great because they disappear after 24 hours, as you. And some of that real connection comes from you being on a dog walk, just chatting. And it doesn't have to be any more than that. So even if you're not, you've got beautiful graphics just on your grid, you can still build that connection without having a full-scale production shoot, which a lot of people think is strange for me to say as a professional photographer. But actually, you don't have to be doing the big lights, camera, action thing. Just picking your phone up and going, hi, I'm da, da, da. And you're on your dog walk, and you're, the best engaged piece of content I ever put out in the however long Instagram's been going, minus the sort of time it wasn't there. I shared a to-do list, my cleaning to-do list before my husband's 40th, and said, does anyone else clean like a mad person 24 hours before anyone comes? It had the most comments and most views I've ever had on a story. And I thought, my God, why do I put all of this effort into like doing my makeup and showing up, when actually people just resonate with the fact that, yeah, I'm cleaning this, like when you open the window, the bit, like the inside, I'm cleaning the inside of my window frames when I've got my oldest uni friends coming. I'm like, who does this mad thing on a, like,
everybody?
Yeah. Apparently so, because, hundreds of people engaged with me. And I was like, so I think kind of very quickly coming into that fixing part of this challenge of how do you do it? Just show up. Do it on stories, because you can't watch it back. Like, just record it, hit send, walk away. Don't watch it back. Don't do that to yourself. Like, I don't ever listen back to my own podcast because I'm like, I'd never publish another episode again. So just do it. Don't overthink it. And I say this as somebody who hates being in front of the camera with an absolute passion. I hate it. And I'll be that first person that nitpicks every single little thing on my face and my body. Like, I get it. But if I didn't show up, I wouldn't have been able to help So last year I did a count of how many business owners I'd worked with at the 11-year point, and that was 324 business owners. I wouldn't have been able to help all those people show up in their business. And okay, I'm not saving lives, I'm not a brain surgeon, but that's 324 people who've been able to show up in their business, feeling a bit more confident, quite often being surprised that that photo is them. I'm like, you were at the shoot, it's definitely your face. I'm just taking photos of what I see in front of me.
Yeah.
And being able to go, oh my God, I look good. And I'm like, yeah, because most of us have had terrible phone photos taken of us in awful lighting on a night out. But nobody looks good in that. And if that's your only gauge, I think the other challenges then come down to where you are showing up, and people trying to spread themselves too thin and be everywhere. And I think pick one or two channels. You need your website. I've got people don't come through my website. I probably could get a lot more organic work if I actually put some effort into my SEO. That's a 2026 to do. It was also a 2025 to do. It was a 2024 to do. But I'm holding myself accountable here. It is my 2026 to do. But people do visit it, and they visit your website to check that you are legitimate. So you need a website, and then pick one or two platforms to do well where your ideal client are. So I'm on Instagram and Facebook because I know that's where my clients are. I don't do anything on TikTok because, quite frankly, I'm not dancing around, and I can't, I don't want to go on video. I should dabble in LinkedIn, but I'm scarred from corporate days. But so I'm focusing my efforts on those two and trying to do those well so that I'm not feeling too stretched. So I think you've got to get out of your own way, start doing something, and then don't spread yourself too thin, and you'll find that visibility thing so much easier, I think. But also, when you're then thinking about having an actual shoot, when you're working with your photographer, get lots of variety. Outfit changes, even if it's just changing a t-shirt, think about where you're posting, and have a real kind of, like, I call it, say, like a treasure chest of images where you can just dip into it and you've got lots of variety so that you don't get bored, so you're not having to do this every quarter. So having that kind of depth of imagery, even in a 30-minute mini shoot, you can achieve lots of variety if you work quickly and you do it with purpose and you plan. A crisis manager, I'm always going to plan every extreme, but don't just turn up and expect pretty pictures. Put the work into it. The best shoots are the ones where you are working with your photographer and not expecting your photographer to just magic a shoot out of thin air.
As a creator, I used to spend hours re-recording voiceovers to get the perfect tone. But finding reliable voice talent, booking studio time, and editing takes forever, and it can break the bank. That's why I recommend 11 Labs. It generates ultra-realistic AI voices and even clones your own, all in seconds. With natural-sounding speech, multilingual support, and seamless text-to-speech conversion, 11 Labs powers podcasts, audiobooks, training modules, and more. No mic required. Ready to level up your audio? Try it free today at allmylink.me/TC11labs and bring your scripts to life with 11 Labs. I love all of those tips, and they are so important to help people just like that get over themselves is the first part. And I know that's something that we all deal with, no matter how we're feeling on that day. And it is about focusing on the customer in mind as part of that, and that it's actually a collaboration as well between you and the photographer. You and the me as the business owner, you as the photographer. It's the collaboration between them and putting a plan in place. So when it comes to branding then, right, and how that relates to your business branding and what that storytelling aspect looks like, how do you start to think about that if you're going into that planning stage of going, right, I want to work with this photographer? How would you start that approach for yourself before touching base with that photographer?
So first and foremost, you have got to understand who your ideal client is, what your values are, and who your personality is. don't be trying to, like, for instance, you will never see me in a shoot wearing a pencil skirt, a shirt, a bold lip. It's not me. You'll see me in skinny jeans and a top or a blazer maybe. There's one picture that floats around with me in a dress, but I think it's also the only dress I own. Okay, so think about who you are
Yeah.
and how you feel, because then when it comes to talking to your photographer, they are going to or should be asking you all of those questions. So I send a questionnaire that's quite detailed to my clients. And I've had clients say, God, I've never thought about this before. And I'm like, we're not picking the camera up until you've thought about this, because otherwise you'll get very technically good photos, but they'll be a bit vanilla and they won't land. So I ask my clients, for instance, what 3 words describe your brand? Because there's a different way of showing up on the camera and how I capture it. If you say I'm bold versus, I'm approachable, like that changes how we might tweak some of the posing. Like I said, ideal client, how you work with your clients. So there's been, over the years, there's been chats on social media from photographers saying brand photographers, it's not about sitting in front of your laptop. It's not about, writing in a notepad. And I call that out a bit because brand photography in its truest sense is portraying to your audience who you are and what you do. So it would be mad for me to never have a photo of me with my camera, because then I'm just a person in a photo. Like, people want to know at first glance what I do. Now, not every photo I've got of me is with my camera, but quite often my bio pictures that I send for things like podcasts or, guest speaking is me holding my camera, because then people are like, oh, okay, she's a photographer. There's no more overthinking than that. So if you are someone, for instance, a tech VA, your clients want to see how you work. If you're never with a laptop, that feel a bit odd. So it's about showing your tools of the trade. It's about, but also then one of the questions I ask is, what do you do outside of the business? For some people, they're like, well, I don't. Okay, so that's a bigger problem. What are the things that you love? And that might just be, actually, do you know what? I like going out for walks in the woods. I'm like, right, so then we need to get some outdoor photos with you. We need to show you in nature. For some people, so I had a shoot last year, and she loves James Bond. So actually, on the coffee table that she was sat with a portrait looking to camera, there were James Bond books. She had a shirt that had little martini glasses on it. And they are really, really subtle cues to people that you don't necessarily notice, but someone else will go, my God, I love James Bond too. And that might be the thing that makes them decide between working with you and working with somebody else.
It's like those Easter eggs, isn't it?
You're just, and finding out all of this information means that then when I'm looking for venues or I'm suggesting props or outfits, I'll go, okay, so actually we need this sort of venue and maybe we want to have this sort of thing in the background. If I work with a psychologist, for instance, and we're doing photos and there's a bookcase in the background, I'd be like, bring some of your books, we're going to put them on the bookshelf, because political biographies are not going to resonate with what you're talking about, but putting some of your textbooks and your academic work on there just sends the viewer's brain that signal of, well, they've got a lot of academic background. And they're not consciously thinking that. Their brain back there is going, well, they know what they're talking about. So that's why it's such an important thing to have it as a collaboration, because yes, I can create a photo shoot for just about anybody, the same way I can create a crisis management plan for any business. But if I don't know the nuances of your business, I can't get those subtle cues and I can't play into that buyer psychology, which ultimately your photos need to be attracting people or turning people away so that they spend with you.
Yeah, it is that people buy from people.
Yeah.
It is. When you were talking there, I related it to when you were looking through CVs and you're looking at the top if they can meet those key skills of what the job requires, but you're also looking at like the things that make them interesting.
Yeah.
Right? Like their personality. So if they like swimming or if they play in a club, or then you know that they've got good teamwork.
Yeah.
If they've got like a passion for something, if they've got some focus. So it's again all these other things these parts, these skills, these human parts that would make you think, I want to work with them, or I
Yeah.
want them to work with me. I want them to be part of the team. And it's the same then. This was going through my head as you were saying it, but it's like when you're hiring somebody to take that visual representation of your business, it is about bringing them in like a team member to help them
Yeah.
understand you and who you are, so that that's represented across, I think,
And
effectively.
you've absolutely got to like the person taking your photo, because if you feel uncomfortable, and even if like, oh, it's okay because they're an amazing photographer, like they get great shots, but you're actually thinking, oh, they're quite annoying, they don't shut up, or they make me feel a bit uncomfortable. All of that tension sits in your jaw here, and you don't get that sparkle that comes to your eyes. So then what you get are photos where it just looks a bit dead, and you don't get that kind of passion, and you can pick up on that. And I think this is where some of the AI imagery falls down, because you don't get that glint, and
Mm.
people can't quite put their finger on it, but they're like, there's no connection. And it is because you don't get that like sparkle here when you're talking about something passionate. Well, it's the same in a photo. Like if you feel uncomfortable, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, and it just, the life
Body
drains.
language.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
life drains out of those eyes, and you go, oh, I'm not sure about that person. I'll move on to the next one.
And we've got to think about the speed that people interact with content as well, which is different than if it's placed on your website in a way. But if we think about social media, how quickly people interact with it. And again, there's also those touch points that people, the amount of times that people need to see you before they can take some sort of action as
I
well.
know. And that used to be 7, and now it's in the, what is it, in the 20s now?
Yeah, I think it's probably, I've heard it in different ways. Standard is 20. I also hear it in the hundreds. I think Daniel Priestley's talking about like 11 video PCs at the moment. At Apple, it was 7. It was 7 at
Yeah,
that time, 7 visits before they make a buying decision. And that's changed in 10 years
yeah,
to hundreds and hundreds now that people need. And so making sure that you're consistent, I think, is part of
yeah.
it as well, right?
And that's little things like, if you are across different platforms, have the same profile picture. Don't
Mm-hmm.
use your logo.
Yeah.
Unless you are a faceless brand or you're a product brand, don't use your logo, use your face. Because the more people, so my profile picture, and it really needs changing because I am no longer blonde, is me.
Yeah.
But my photographer moved to the States, so I
Okay.
need to figure out a way to do this. So my profile picture is blonde hair, green dress, black hat,
Mm-hmm.
and that is
Yeah.
the same across all of them. And the number of times I turn up to a shoot and people are like, "Where's the hat?" I'm like, because they're a pain to shoot in. And my hair's
Yeah.
always back when I'm on shoots, because otherwise it gets like, I
Mm-hmm.
end up with my hair going across the lens and I have to edit that out. And so I
Yeah.
actually never really look like my profile picture, which is something that actually you shouldn't do. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how many times have we been to an event and we're talking to someone and you're like, "Well, you don't look like your photos."
I get that a lot, and it's because I've let my hair colour grow out.
Yeah, same. It's all gone.
The first time in my life I've known what my actual hair
Yeah.
colour is.
Although
But
mine
but I
very
get
peppered grey at the moment.
it's how you feel like you want it to be as well. And I do get people, oh, you don't look like your profile picture. Your hair's different, and I'm like, that's the first thing you've said to me. You've not said hello. You've
No,
not
I
said
know.
what's
Yeah.
your name. So you're focused on how people look and how they're perceived more than who they are. And
Yeah.
so I tend to assess people upon that,
Yeah.
upon their introduction as well. It's that introduction. It's like when people say, hey, nice to meet you, what do you do? Right? It means that you're focused on like work or,
What can I get out of this
yeah.
interaction?
But if the people say, oh, hey, are you married or have you got kids? Then they're family and their values are focused
Yeah.
on like family. But if people come up to me and say, oh, yeah, your hair's different, I'm like, oh, you're going to judge me on how I look immediately.
Yeah, which feeds into that narrative as to why people
Yeah.
don't show up on camera. But actually, our brains do notice those things first. We just might not verbalize them. So we
Yeah.
do go, oh, this person looks familiar. I feel safe. I feel like,
Yeah.
comfortable. I'm not then thinking, they don't look like they said they don't look like they show up online. So what else are they not, what else are they hiding, or what else are they not genuine about? So there is an
Mm.
element of like, I know I need new photos because people are expecting me to turn up as 5 years younger than I was when I had my photos taken, and blonde. And I turn up and I've got more, I am older. I've got 4.5-year-old, so I'm definitely looking more tired than I was.
Yeah.
and I've got brown hair, and there is something in the back of the head that'll go, oh, well, then what else is different? So I think making sure that you are representing what you are, and it goes to the same, like, um, don't pretend you're someone that you're not. And when we're talking about clothes on shoots, I'll say to clients, like, okay, if you sit on your sofa and work and you're in your partner's hoodie and slouch pants, like, maybe don't turn up to your client, like, your shoot like that. But this is where it's the showing you on your best day. Also, don't turn up in a sequin dress with a Hollywood glamour look, because then when people do meet you, they're going to be like, wow, that's different. I feel disconnected. Maybe you'll just wear, well-fitting leisure wear instead. So you've got to show up as you, and your photographer can only do that if they know who you are. And your clients will only work with you if they know who you are. You can have the best results in the world, but if you don't have that human connection, I genuinely do believe that people will look elsewhere, because they want someone who they resonate with, who they can see themselves working with, and who they feel comfortable. Whether or not that's because they want to have their hand held or they want that tough love, they still need to feed some sort of connection.
Yeah, it's super important to do that, to make sure that you're connecting with the people on the
Yeah.
other side of that. So the camera being there and you're guiding the person on maybe how they're looking, because you're seeing that reflection. They can't see that reflection back on them, but you're able to pull out from them what that person, that ideal person is, that it's going to see that picture. I
Yeah.
hope I'm making this clearer.
I know.
But
No, it's true. Like, so
uh-huh.
I am basically on a shoot kind of having to embody who your ideal client is. And when I'm looking through that camera, I'm going, is that ideal client going to connect with this? And are you feeling comfortable? And then that's what happens in the camera. So I'm thinking about you, but I'm also thinking about who your ideal client is, to make sure that the images that are coming out are going to connect with them, but also that they're a marketing asset. These are not just pretty pictures. Yes, they're a confidence boost. That is amazing. But ultimately, those images are a marketing asset, the same way that your podcast is and your website is, and everything else that you do. It has got to work hard for you.
I think there's something there around that investment piece as well, because you mentioned marketing assets there. And I think people forget that actually having an investment in good photography is a huge part of your marketing of your business. So investing in to get a good photographer to take some great photographs that can work with you on that branding and that branding story of your business, and you as that personal branding being super important. And not to just go for the lowest common denominator because of how you're feeling personally, right? So you'll buy somebody that's maybe not what you're looking for because they might sit within that cost, but actually looking for the right person to work with you.
And I think it doesn't have to cost thousands. Like, photographers will often do mini shoots. I do mini shoots because I know, particularly people who are starting out in their business journey, they don't have the cash flow at that point to be spending hundreds or thousands on a shoot. So having something that is a smaller investment, but you're still going through the same process with me. We're still doing the planning. I'm still, even in 30 minutes, you will be doing an outfit change, even if it's just a swap of a top in a pop-up tent in the middle of town. You're still getting that variety, because, money can't be the thing that stops you. So even if you are starting on day one and you have got £0 in your bank, still show up. Put yourself in front of a window with lovely natural light coming onto your face. Stick your phone on a tripod, talk to that camera. Take photos of yourself, get someone to do, like, phones now are pretty good. Like, they're not going to replace what I do, but they are good. Like, they are a damn sight better than they were 10 years ago. So you can still show up with good lighting, crisp photos, not with terrible backgrounds like this, because I haven't sorted my office out. You can do it. And eventually, you will need to have professional photos. Like, social media to a point will allow you to do it yourself. But your website, if you're wanting to be on podcasts, if you're wanting to talk on stages, if you are wanting to show up as a business leader, you cannot do that with selfies. Please don't crop yourself out of your wedding photo. I see it on LinkedIn all the time. I'm like, stop cropping yourself out of photos. Like, spend some time, even if it is yourself with a phone and a tripod, to get some imagery, because you're telling your clients and your audience, I invest in my business, be that time, money, energy. I take
Mhm.
myself seriously. I am a professional. Therefore, you can trust me.
And I
And
think
that's,
yeah, sorry, I
yeah,
cut you off there.
and that's that first impression bit. So I do it all the time with food photography. If I go onto a restaurant website and the food photography is terrible, I won't book. I won't book somewhere that the food looks, because it's unappetizing. And
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm missing out on like loads of local gems, but I'm like, my brain cannot imagine me eating that food if it looks awful.
Mhm. Yeah. I
Not that
think
you'll look awful in your
no.
selfies, but if you've got it'd be a great way to test it, isn't it? I have two websites, one where it's just me on selfies and one of it's me professional images. And I bet my professional images ones would get more traction.
Again, that's, I think, reflecting on a website where you're professionally
Yeah.
represented, where people are doing their due diligence to find you. But again, I think it doesn't take away from you still being able to do some mirror shots on social media
Yeah.
because of the speed of
Yeah.
how social media moves so quickly. So get a mixture of both.
Yeah.
But
You
that
need both.
investment piece is really about that time investment, that energy and focus that you mentioned as well, and the financial aspect. I believe that we have to invest always. We have to invest in
Yeah.
ourselves. We have to invest in other business owners. And I'm very much around the focal point that I'm bringing more out more and more just now is about how women need to invest in other women as well, so
Yeah.
that we can teach the world that we are investable,
Yeah.
because the market is still to go towards male, because that's just learned behavior and the way that the world's
Yeah.
been. But as more women are moving out of the workforce into their own entrepreneurship, and with the UK wanting, and I know Scotland wants to be an entrepreneurial nation, it is about us focusing on investing on ourselves and investing in other people, investing in other women, so that we can lift each other up in that sort of way, and show
Yeah.
that we're investable.
That's it. And we all do well if we all do well. We have to support other business owners. And like you said, you can't just expect other people to spend with you and you never spend with anybody else. It really doesn't work like that.
No, no, we have to show up in that way as well.
Yeah.
So let's go a bit more into the storytelling piece.
Yes.
How, if you don't know what your story is, or if your story is very complex, maybe you've changed a bit of your audience in that way as well. What's a way to get into storytelling for personal branding?
So I think actually looking at personal branding as a bigger topic, because personal branding for 2026 is going to be really key. You might think your story is not that interesting, but the fact that my cleaning to-do list got the most engagement, I promise you your story is more interesting than that. And people are inherently nosy, so they want to know where you come from and what you do. Things like, how did you get into what you're doing? Why do you do it? Why do you like working with those people? What do you do on a weekend? Like, what's your family or life setup? You don't have to share everything. I share little bits about mine, like it's known that I'm an IVF mum, but I don't share the entire medical history behind it because frankly, that's none of anyone's business. But it's something that resonates with people. It's something that starts conversation. And by just talking about you and what you do and why you do it, people are building that connection, and it's easier to engage with because you're not selling directly to them. If I put a post out saying, book my shoot, nobody comments on that. If I put a story in there going, what cocktail should I do for Christmas? I'll get loads of content on that because people are like, oh, that's a safe thing for me to engage with because you're not going to suddenly try and sell to me. Whereas if I say, where would your dream shoot be? People are like, I'm not sure, because if I put Paris, then you're going to jump in my DMs and go, let's go to Paris this year. Because I absolutely will, because I really want to shoot there. So the storytelling aspect feels much bigger than it is, but it's actually just talking about your lived experience. And it doesn't have to be trauma that you've been through or big life-changing things. Like I said earlier, it could be the fact that you're on a dog walk, talking about something that happened. Like, bit of storytelling for me this week was December was my first Elf on the Shelf year. I was very excited for it. I had also set my expectations that the elf was not coming every day. They were coming to visit from the North Pole because they're making toys.
Mm-hmm.
On the 1st of December, I went onto Instagram and the first 3 or 4 posts were people bitching about the elf. And for me, someone who never thought I'd be able to do Elf on the Shelf, who didn't, was really excited about it because I am a Christmas elf myself. I think it'd be a great job to do, actually. But anyway,
Yeah, I think so.
I went on and I had a rant because I was like, if it brings you joy, do it. If it doesn't, don't do it. Don't peel my parade. And it was this whole, it was just this little thing that had happened in my day. I shared it. That's storytelling. Just talking to people the same way that you would just talk to a friend if you saw them for coffee. It's not this big elaborate marketing strategy. It's not me. It's not part of a launch. It's not me trying to plug something. It's just me talking about my day, something that's happened. But I got so much engagement from that. Some people saying, it's just too stressful, and me going, well, don't do it then. Like, stick the legs in plaster of Paris and say the elves have broken their legs. Like, they can rest then. But it got that engagement. People know a little bit more about what I'm about, and they're resonating with me. They're getting to know me as a person. Storytelling, I think, because it's been given this label of storytelling, people are like, oh, well, I'm not interesting, or I'm not a writer, or I'm not an actress or anything like that. It's like, it's a conversation. You're just sharing little bits about you. And then when it comes to things like shoots or content, bring that in. So, a client of mine, she is a business coach for a very long time. Like, she's got 2 kids. She did Elf on the Shelf, and they had their whole persona. This year December was the first year that she hadn't done it, but she still brought the elves into her shoot to be like, this is the end of an era. This is what I'm doing now. And because people really resonated with that little bit of her story, they engaged with the content because it was human connection. So, it can be another client last year, her love of croissants. She always has a croissant when she's doing her live. So guess what we had on the table during her shoot? A big plate with the biggest croissant we could find. She didn't engage with it, but it was there because then people were like, the croissants made the shoots. Like, it's just these tiny little things about you that make you human that someone else doesn't have. Because someone else would be like, oh, do you know what? I really fancy a croissant now. And they've had that engagement. They've gone to the supermarket and they've bought some croissants, all because they engaged in a post. And then they'll come back and they'll go, I had a croissant, I have jam on mine, oh no, I have butter on mine. And it's just these little like spin-off conversations that you're building this connection. But you can guarantee that someone who's had that engagement with you, when they're thinking then of in that investing space, will go, I really like Sooz because actually we both have this love of X, Y, and Z.
You've hit something there, which is the conversation.
Yeah.
It's a conversation, the storytelling, and the photography and you showing up and online is that conversation piece with the person that you want to interact with, that being your ideal client.
Yeah.
So conversation is a story because we all tell stories, whether they're embellished or not, which is a lot of the time because it's our emotions that come as part of it. But it's a story, it's a conversation. And how are you having that conversation with your ideal client and sharing little bits of you, little bits, not all of it, little bits of you that can help resonate and make that connection.
Yeah. And also, so photography gives you that ability to have that conversation if you don't want to show up live. So 2025 was like lifed a lot in 2025 for us. I was still able to show up by putting pictures out and writing rather than me going live on stories and talking all of the time because I just was not in that headspace to do it. But I was still able to show up because I had a bank of images. And actually, because I've changed my hair color, I was able to go even use that as a conversation because I was like, look, don't do what I do. Like, don't have out-of-date photos that don't look like you anymore. I will get to it. And I turned that into a conversation of being like, how many of you are sat on photos that are 10 years old and you don't look like yourself anymore because, you've changed your hair or you wear different clothes and all of that. So, but it actually, if you are struggling or life is lifing at any point in business, having that bank of imagery will help you still show up in your business, even if you're hiding under a duvet.
I love that no matter what, there's always a way. And that's what I see as the problem solving mindset and having that ability. Again, it's gone back to that ambiguity, but it's a mindset shift really around it all and being able to deal with what's coming in front of you. And I suppose that goes to your crisis management stuff as well.
Like you've always got, like, even being an entrepreneur, you have, whether you don't realize it or not, you have embraced the fact that there's ambiguity in your life. Like if we wanted a solid, stable life, we would be in an employed role. Yes, there's still ambiguity in that employed role. I'm not saying that that's, it's always linear with that. But the very fact that we have chosen this ridiculous, crazy life of being a business owner and juggling everything else that goes with it, you're already embracing the chaos. So just embrace a little bit more and show up and share the chaos if you want to. Take people on that journey with you. It's just,
it's
a connection. Yeah, it's just I love that you say it's just a conversation. And I think people have forgotten that social media was set up, or maybe they just weren't alive when it was set up.
There's a bit of that happening.
Social media is social. Facebook came into the UK, and the uni that Hutch went to was the first uni in the UK that got it, so that friends could chat and they could keep in touch and they could share photos and you could talk to people on the other side of the world that had moved away. Like it was a vehicle for conversations between people that you aren't around. And we've lost that. How many people post and run? How many people actually have those conversations? Like I love when I'm watching stories and doing that kind of doom scroll, like commenting and being like, oh my God, the number of people that either don't engage back or they just like it. And I'm like, you've missed a real, like, I'm connecting with you because actually maybe one day I might want to invest with you, but actually all you've done is go, I can't spend 5 seconds to just go, oh, thanks. Or like, back to the croissant thing. Oh no, I prefer this. Like, you've got to, and I know we're all busy, but social media is social. And if you are showing up, somebody, you or your team, need to actually be having a bit of conversation back or turn the comments off.
Yeah. The aspect of social media has been me, all about me.
Yeah.
And it's not about me. It's
No.
about them.
Yeah.
It's about you, right? So it's rather focusing on the client that you're speaking to whenever you're making that intention to put a post out on your stories, is to go, this is a conversation about them that I want to engage with. So I need to engage back.
Yeah, need to engage back. And when you're thinking about your content, think about kind of, okay, yes, I'm selling this thing and I need to, I need to be telling them about it. But why? What is the why for them? And I can't remember who said it, but you're selling the sizzle, not the sausage. So
Okay, I like that.
You're selling, like, people buy something because they connect with you, because they want that transformation, they want that result, they want that feeling, and that, like, it's going to impact them in some way. So make them feel that. Like, make them realize that, make them, show that it's about them. I love that about the media bit. Like, it's so true.
And we forget that our experience of media, in a sense, was sitting watching the television, watching a story.
It was very, very one way.
It's one-sided. And when social media, the social aspect is that conversation that you touched on, and it's changing our mindset of how we're actually consuming content to create content that is differently. It's not there to just be consumed, it's there to interact. And if we can change that approach or we can change that mindset of how we approach any content that we're putting out, is to start a conversation. To start a conversation around how is it that we can help solve their problems, and how we can take away that kind of, it's not about me, it's about you. Yeah, and putting the focus on that customer. And I think we don't do that when we go, I hate getting my photograph taken.
Yeah. And I get it. I do too.
It's a bit selfish, really, if you think about it, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I sort of skirt around it and be like, look, you've got to put your big girl pants on. It's not about you. You have to put your ego to the side. And that's not diminishing any of that kind of experience that's got you to that. Like, I was on the tube a few months ago, and there was a family there, and they were tourists because they were taking photos on the tube. And there was a little girl.
That's the worst. Sorry, that's the absolute worst.
But there was a little girl there, and she must have been maybe 6 or 7. having a photo taken, and one of the parents said, "Oh no, do a nice smile, don't smile like that." And instantly I just went, she's got that now. She will have, and something like, it's not said in malice, but like, if you try and explain to someone what a smile is, it's really weird. Like, you're gonna show your teeth. Like, it's just like, I'm not gonna do it because we're on video. Like, I'll look like
Yeah.
I'm grimacing at you. But like, to explain a smile to a child, it's weird. But actually, it's comments like that and things on social media or things that people say that then sit in you and go, "Oh, well, I can't smile with my teeth." I had a client years ago and she was like, "I never smiled with my teeth because I had a boyfriend who told me I had a cute, ugly smile." And I was like, "He's an X for a reason, but actually you've got a beautiful smile." And that connects with people. But we've had this drilled into us for decades. And I'm not diminishing any of that, but there comes a point, whereas if you want to show up and serve more people and help more people, you have to put a line in the sand and go, does it really matter if I've got wrinkles on my forehead? And I've done that a lot because I'm like, I do raise my eyebrows a lot. I have a very, very transparent face. How I feel is written all over my face, which means I have the lines to show for it. But that just shows that I have lived
Experience.
I've lived a very expressionful life.
Life is full of experience in that way.
And I've had to get over that myself and just be like, you know what, like, it is what it is. And if I don't show up, then I can't help more people show up in their business. And it'll be the same whether you are, a business coach, if you are a makeup artist, if you're a cake maker, like whatever your business is, ultimately your business is to serve somebody. And they will not engage with you if they do not know who you are, and they don't know who you are if you don't show up. There we go.
Love it. I think that leads really nicely onto kind of like, what are the 3 tips that you can share with people about branding, storytelling, showing up online?
Okay, so first tip, just do it. If you're creating your own content, lighting is absolutely the thing to try and figure out first. So, being in front of natural light source is your best friend, but actually, so I've got light coming in from me this side. It's a bad design of my office. So to try and counteract, I've got a ring light in front of me that is just giving me, you'll be able to see it in my eyes, the little circles, but that is giving a much more even light to do that. So lighting is the thing that quite often will give away if an image is professional or not. Like if it's terrible lit, then automatically you're thinking, this isn't great. Your lighting, Sooz, is much better than mine.
I've got one of these. If anybody's watching, it's one of these
Okay.
that I can put on top of anything.
My plan is to put a big panel in front of my laptop.
Oh, that would be lovely.
To counteract, because it's such a lot of light that comes there. Thankfully, it is an overcast day. So overcast days are your best friend, because it is like nature has given you a giant softbox.
Yeah.
So you've got all this natural light, but it's not really harsh because the sun is hidden, but it's coming through. So overcast days, which in the UK is perfect because we get lots of them.
Most of the days are overcast days.
Particularly in Scotland, you get a lot of overcast days, probably the same in Ireland because they get a lot of overcast too. Further south in England, maybe not. Maybe you get a bit more sunshine than we do. I'm in the middle.
There's definitely an east-west coast for us. Like all the weather comes on the west, and so the east is mostly dry and cold.
Yeah, so, I'm Milton Keynes, so I'm smack in the middle. So I never know what I never know what I'm waking up to. Okay. So yeah, lighting is like, spend some time. If you're recording videos, for instance, look around your house. You might need to make your own sort of makeshift studio and just find the best light, style your scene around it, and then record there and have that as your go-to spot so that you've got the good light. But actually, if the background's always the same, that builds familiarity with your audience. So they then, when they're watching that content or they're looking at that photo, they're used to all of that. So actually then what they're focusing on is what you're saying, because the brain's not going, oh, what's that in the background? What's this? They're just going, okay, now I can listen, I can focus, because there's nothing new. So having that consistency works really well. And then the third tip is try and have some fun with it. Like, it doesn't all have to be you looking to camera being like, there we are, I'm just going to post. Like, it doesn't have to be that. Try and have a bit of fun with it. So bring in props, think of the things that you like I said, croissants, James Bond, like just bring in things, but you don't always have to look at the camera. Like having photos of you doing something with your hands, because when you're on a shoot, a lot of people, I give them things to do with the hands or put in their pockets because they start doing this and they get tense and then they claw. And I'm like, I've got a tiny T-Rex on a shoot. So what are we going to do with that?
And then they won't see that. You'll only see that.
But I will. And I'm like, okay, just wiggle your fingers and relax that out. Shake it all out. Put on some good music to get you in the mood and breathe. Like people don't breathe on shoots. They just go. And then they're like, okay, so I've got these lines here because I'm holding my breath. I'm tense here and my eyes have gone dead. So just breathe and go, okay, what's the worst that can happen? Gonna have to take it again. No one died.
Yep.
Yep.
It's really,
it's really that simple. I am not a brain surgeon. I am not saving lives.
Yeah.
Like if something's not working on a shoot, we'll mix it up. You can do the same if you're doing your own content. You're like, all right, this is not working. That's not that I'm shit. That's not that you're terrible. Something's just not working, and that's fine. We'll just change it or come back to it.
I love that the majority of what we've talked about in this podcast episode has really been about mindset and really been about like how to show up for yourself, your customers, and really shift the impression that you've got about yourself and changing your mindset around it all.
Yeah, and I only really realised that was the case a couple of years ago. And people would say to me, "You make me feel so comfortable," and I'm like, "Well, I'm just being me." And I realized that it is, like you said at the beginning, it's those human skills, and it's the same that you'll be doing with your own clients. And I was like, oh, maybe that psychology degree I did actually is helpful.
Like, what other things have I learned in my previous experiences that I can bring to this? What are things that I've got that other people don't have because of my past experiences, both positive and negative, that I can bring and show up?
Yeah.
So be better, kinder to ourselves as part of that.
Absolutely. Be kind to yourself, because we are all living this weird human experience and we don't know what's coming day to day. So just enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the ride. I love it. So people can connect with you at akpbrandingstories.co.uk. And there's a brand photography starter pack that you've got for people. And we'll share that in the show notes and any posts that are going out around this episode.
Amazing.
But in there, you've got kind of images, the 5 images you could have for your business and a guide for that. You've got a checklist for your brand shoot, which we've talked about and the importance of that. Stock images about what that kind of would look like for your business. So it's great.
That's it. So they're actually 5 stock images that you can just get on and use. So even if you're not showing your face, that you can just use stock images. It's like coffee cup and like, really safe imagery like that. So you can just go out and use it and post something.
Yeah, just get into that consistency mindset around it all as well. Thank you so much for joining me today,
Amanda. Thank you for having me.
It's been such a great conversation, and I hope that we are able to come back again and share even more stories for people as well. So thanks for coming on, everyone. Have a great week, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for listening to Digital Dominators. I hope today's episode gave you something practical, or at least a bit of a boost to keep things going in this mad digital world. If you're enjoying the podcast, hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming up. There's loads more good stuff on the way and some brilliant guests lined up too. And if you fancy going a bit deeper, come and join the Digital Dominators community. It's totally free, and it's where I share bonus trainings, podcast extras, and tools to help you build confidence with your digital skills. You'll also get access to my social media prompt calendar, so you can finally stop staring at that blank screen wondering what to post. Just head to technologycoachingonline.com/digital dominators to get started. Alright, that's it from me just now. Stay curious, keep showing up, and I'll catch you in the next one.